Hey there, welcome to TheAdipose and Luos Destruct's LittleBigPlanet tutorials, and this is the temple. This is definitely the hardest tutorial we've done so far, but have a little look at what we're going to be making today. We've got lots of scenery for you and a few gameplay elements as well. We're going to be looking at switches, lighting, complex shapes, and so on. If you haven't done our other tutorials yet, the cave and the boat, definitely view them first because they are a lot easier than this one. So here we are. We're starting off with a pillar. This pillar is actually going to become the basis of the entire temple, because the shapes that we make here are going to be shown again and again and again. So we've made a pillar, and we're using the corner edit tool here to draw it into more like an eye shape. We're doing all of this with the grid on. You must do this with the grid on, because when we are editing later and pulling one shape against another, if you haven't done this with the grid on, you won't be able to do it. The grid, especially if it's set to small, won't restrict your shapes. So keep it on. It's be a lot easier to be symmetrical, and it's going to be a lot easier to edit later. We've got a second material here, and we're drawing hexagons, I think it is. Octagons. We're drawing octagons into the first shape, which is going to give us a lovely two-material effect. And already you can see the more complex look of this pillar just by putting one material inside another. We're going to put a strip of the second material at the top to border the first, and we're going to stick that down using glue. And we're also going to put another strip at the bottom and then merge that with one of the little blobs we had in there already. And the way you merge materials is simply you drag, while drawing, you drag one shape into another, and as one material touches the other, as long as they're the same material, they will merge. And sometimes you'll want that, like we've done here with the pillars, but sometimes you won't want that because you don't want your shapes to get too complex. This is a big octagon here. We're going to draw a big one, and then we're going to get a smaller one and cut away, and then as we've got it held down, we're going to push right, which gives us a kind of a big C shape, and then this is going to frame our pillars. Nice way to save time is the duplicate and reverse trick, and to do that you will select it, push down the left stick, which gives you a copy, and then push down the right stick, which reverses it, and then you press X to place it in the normal way. So we've got our two C's, two pillars. The second pillar was made by just copying the first and moving it across, and already you can see that we've got the beginnings of a nice room. We're paused at the moment, so nothing's going to fall, but you should always make sure you've got dark matter in place, stuck on, so when you do unpause, the whole thing doesn't fall apart. It's good to put dark matter somewhere where you can remember where it is in case you need to move it later. There was the merge trick there. We had two separate borders there, and by dragging the gold material across, it became one. Corner edit tool here again. We're kind of pulling those C's into bigger frames. Hopefully this tutorial will really show you just how useful the corner edit tool really is. We've added a background here just to kind of get us in the mood, give us a few little sound effects. And again, we're just adding a few more little shapes here, which you can see us doing, drawing them in. It's best to kind of draw in with a simple shape and then use the corner edit tool to pull it into the shape you want. You can cut other bits of shapes out of the way and then pull them in. Again, make sure you do this all on the grid. It will make, if you don't, you'll have real problems using the corner edit tool later on. We're going to put a background behind all this. This is a thin layer. So far everything we've done has been one thick layer at the back, and now this is one thin layer behind all that. And again, we need a piece of dark matter, because the dark matter that was there before won't actually hold up the thin layer. So we've got another bit of dark matter which we've stuck on to that. Again, know where your dark matter is, in case you forget. Now this is a fantastic trick. Watch this. We've got a gap in between our pillars, and we're going to get a small square, and by using the corner edit tool, we're going to pull out another shape so it fills the gap that has been created. And as you can see, Luos here is pulling out the shape point by point so it fills up the existing shape. If you haven't checked them out already, do check out Luos's Sack the Legendary series. They are fantastic. There's a trailer for them on my YouTube, so just click on more from this user. Now watch this. We've got this shape, which we've made. We're now going to select it, shrink it. We're going to turn it into a thin layer shape. Change the material so it's different from the one behind it, and then embed it in the one before. And look at that, we've now got one shape inside another on a thin layer that came from the thick layer. And now by turning the shape that we've just made back into the blue material, shrinking it again, and then embedding it again, we have got a fantastic pattern in the center of our temple room there. So I'll recap how we did that. We put one square in the gap. Using the corner editor, we pulled it out so it filled the shape, but with no glue was involved. Selected it, shrunk it, changed it to a thin layer, and then stuck it in the back. And we're using the same technique here. We drew out a shape, we've shrunk it, and we're now embedding it. And here we're using the copy and reverse trick. So left stick, right stick, and we're sticking that in as well. A quick way of doing this might have been to just use shapes that already exist. So here we're just putting an octagon into the shapes you've got already. So you don't have to pull out those shapes like we did. You could just put circles or squares or ovals in there. But we've kind of got this kind of octagon angular feel for this temple, so we wanted to continue that throughout. And look at this. So far we've only got these two materials. Look at the thermo, it's barely moved. We've got a very detailed room with two materials, lots of the corner edit tool, lots of copying and lots of reversing. Again, corner edit tool here, and we're going to pull out a blue border to our gold outline. And again, watch the way you do this. You grab almost like behind on the shape and then pull it out and past, which is going to create the border to our shape here. Now often when people think border, they think, well, I need to make the border first and then the inside. But this is the reverse. Make the inside first and then the border. Now obviously I'm biased, but I think this is some really useful techniques with the corner edit tool here. Now we're using a mixture of the triangle button to delete points and the X button by dragging shapes down and then around. I suggest you watch this bit of the clip over and over to see exactly how he made that border, because there's a lot of really quite complex techniques going on there. The pillars that we made at the beginning, we saved a copy of them, so if you're doing something like this you should too. Save the pillars, and then we flattened it. So rather than being a thick layer, we've made a thin layer version, which we're now going to stick on the front. So as Sackboy runs from left to right, he'll run behind the first pillars, and then in front of the next pillar, and in front of the next pillar, and then behind the last pillar again. Anything that we place on the front layer, that's the very front thin layer, Sackboy will never really interact with, but he will walk behind it, and of course it's going to be the thing that the user sees the most. So the front layer is really a decoration layer. So, you know, in a forest you can put trees and bugs, in a temple we can put extra gold decorations like gold leaf, but that front thin layer, it's not a gameplay tool, it's a decoration tool, so putting pillars and branches and trees across the camera can really enhance your creations. Part 2, we've got lots more to show you: lighting, fire, flames, gameplay elements. Just click on the link on the side. If it's not there, click more from Mr. Morris, and we'll see you in part 2.